Hello, everyone. Peter Dennis here. Today, my guest is Yafi Yair. And Yafi is a doctor of psychology and has been channeling for quite some time. And it's my pleasure to welcome her. So, welcome, Yafi.
Hi, thank you for having me. Hi, Peter.
You're very welcome. And Yafi, that was not a proper introduction. So, would you elaborate on that, please? Tell us a little about your background, perhaps where you grew up, maybe jobs you've had, things like that.
Yes, absolutely. So I grew up in Israel and moved myself to New York when I was about 19 years old.
Hmm.
Um, just always knew that I was going to move away without a clear reason or motivation. It was just a knowing. I followed
Mhm.
that knowing and I ended up in New York, where I started my undergrad in psychology and also where I learned my first modality of energy work, which is called inner dance, actually from the Philippines. So not many people know about it here in the States.
Right.
And then I really dove into my clinical psychology studies, doing eventually master's and doctorate in Florida, which is still where I'm at, and kind of neglected the intuitive side and harnessed and developed more my critical scientific
Mhm.
reasoning left brain personality.
Yes.
And yeah, so it's been a fascinating journey of expansion. And then when it was close to graduation in 2012, my interest into anything spiritual and paranormal just blew right open. At
Mm.
first, without any clear trigger, it was
Mhm.
just internal. I just became interested and started reading a lot of books. And then in 2012, my mom transitioned, my best friend, my mom.
Mm.
And that became the journey even more personal and gave me a real drive to connect on a personal level, to be able to reach her, to be able to communicate with her. And
Mhm.
that's also when I dove into lucid dreaming, which was my really my window to communicate with her
Mm.
directly.
Mhm.
And I started working on developing my own intuition. Within a few years, I started doing psychic readings and started integrating energy work again into my practice. I also discovered hypnosis, which
Mhm.
was a fascinating world and also another window of integrating spirituality and exploration into my clinical practice.
Mhm.
And that just grew more and more and more until about 5 years ago, I started channeling again, what I say full time. And that
Mhm.
has become my life's work and life passion.
Yeah. It's a bit unusual to find somebody who is from academia, really, and has a doctorate degree. And as you point out, pretty left brain stuff. And here you are, very much into the right brain, the heart, the intuition, all that sort of thing. I guess
Exactly.
that makes you a well-rounded person.
I try.
Yeah. What changes could you point to that have come about in your life as a result of connecting through channeling?
Okay, so my main source that I channel, although at the beginning it was more of a revolving door, trying different sources, different frequencies, all kind of galactic sources, Earth sources. It was a whole party.
Mhm.
But one of the sources that's been with me from the beginning is Hathor, that through me came through as the divine feminine,
Oh.
which is good. They were smart not to use the word goddess, which I would probably have an immediate aversion to, at least back then.
Mhm.
Also, I was not very versed in galactic heritage and identities. So if they started by saying that they were a Syrian collective, I would probably be confused. So
Yeah.
I think there was some personal understanding to come through as the divine feminine.
Mhm.
And that is really how I experienced Hathor or the Hathors, and I still do for quite some time. And integrating that essence into my beingness for me meant to open up in deeper levels that I could have imagined before in terms of opening my heart and living from my heart. These are all processes that started before, but getting into channeling really accelerated it.
Yeah.
Also, the idea of not being a type A personality, but more go with the flow and have this deep trust within myself and our magical world. So these are all concepts that have become very deeply ingrained within me as I went on this journey of channeling.
When you're dealing with a client, are the Hathors with you most of the time?
I think they're with me all the time, but
Mhm.
my level of awareness and access to them depends on my activity. So
Mhm.
if I'm counseling, one of the things that I do is work with athletes for peak performance. So if I'm counseling an athlete, they're going to be more in the background. When I do hypnosis with the athletes or anyone else, hypnosis is I found that when I do hypnosis with others, I often get to see glimpses of what they're experiencing. And I realize that kind of naturally I do a little bit of energy work with them as I do hypnosis with them. And that to some level is also associated with Hathor. So they're always there. It's just that their level of involvement and even more so my level of awareness of it changes depending on what we do. Now, when I do readings or channelings, they're obviously very much present. And especially with channeling, they're more present than I am because then Yafi goes in the background and Hathor takes the front seat.
Yeah. There are probably various definitions of this, but my understanding is a trance channeler is really in a state where they're not aware of what's transpiring in the transmission. But a conscious channeler is fully aware of everything that is being said. And it's kind of like a spectrum. People can be at one end of that and fully aware, and at the other end, they have no clue what's happened. Where would you position yourself along that
Yeah, I'm
spectrum?
right in the middle of that spectrum. So I'm considered a semi-conscious channeler. I am
Uh,
definitely in a trance state. And it actually took me some time to realize that because as it's going on, I feel so present that it took me some time to realize how elusive it is because once I'm back, the memories can slip away, just like waking up from a dream. So when you
yeah.
wake up and you remember the dream, you're convinced that you're going to remember everything. And an
Mm,
hour later, you're always, unless you journaled about it, you try to remember and you're like, I think that person was involved, but I'm not even sure of that. And I have no idea what happened. So
yes.
it's a little bit like that for me.
Mhm.
During the channeling, I feel present, but I'm somewhere in the background. So then when I come back, it's kind of in between. I remember, but not as clearly. But if we talk about it, it's all there pretty clearly. But otherwise, I remember, but it's not as vivid as a conversation I would have when I'm wide awake and alert.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's certainly helpful if you're dealing with a client and you have some memory of what the conversation was prior.
Yes, and those sessions I always recorded. So
Yeah.
I have that as a
Oh, that's
backup for
helpful.
myself and for the client.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, would you like to bring the Hathors in and I can have a chat with them?
Absolutely.
Good.
So I'm pretty quick
Okay.
to give you a warning.
Thank you. Uh, Standing by, pen poised. Go ahead.
Excellent. Greetings and blessings to you. It
Well,
is
thank
us,
you.
Hathors.
Yes. We have spoken before through another channeler, probably more than a year ago in our counting of time. But it's nice to be with you again. As I recall, you were kind of noted as healers. Would you concur that that's sort of an orientation you have when you approach humans?
There are many names and categories we can fall under.
Okay.
You may say that one of our specialties is sound and the different application that sound can have also on the human body, which in your day and age is an ongoing discovery how sound frequencies, including also light and color frequencies, can aid in healing different aspects of the self.
Tom Kenyon is, I think he has channeled you and apparently has quite a range in his voice. And he does some amount of sound healing, I believe. Uh,
Yes, it is indeed one of our specialties, and we tend to work with people that can express that aspect of our being as it is uh, an integral part of our work and what we bring to the table.
yes, a little of the exposure I've had to sound healing seems to incorporate light, as you have said. And I think there's a lot of speculation, or not only speculation, there's actual presence on the internet of med beds that seem to employ sound and light and maybe other technologies. Are you involved in maybe guiding humans to create these kinds of things?
When it comes to specific technologies, we, from our perspective, the Arcturians are more involved with that.
Mhm.
We tend to choose a more organic vessel for our gifts, if you may call them that, and
Mhm.
tend to work with individuals who can express the sound through their voice as their there are a lot of properties, including healing properties, to the human voice that are just in their infancy in terms of being explored and discovered.
Now, are you working with Yafi's voice?
Yes, absolutely. And this is something that she has become more and more aware of. We had to ease her into it because of her, we would say, scientific training and also her apprehension to fully delve into matters that are not verifiable, and she could not get validation or confirmation quickly. So we began only with verbal messages. This is something that she could understand. This is something that she could receive feedback on. And we had to ease her into the world of light language, which is what is often called within the channeling world, although we have our own terminology, and indeed we introduced the term field tuning to her, which is has to do a lot of what we do when we use her voice in that way.
Mhm. You raise a few points. Would you work with Yafi or anyone else when they use their hands for healing?
The movement of the hand is another expression of the energy as it flows through the vessel.
Mhm.
When the vessel feels free enough to express it without holding back, the hand motions come as a part of it. So it is not us specifically guiding specific movement, but it is an expression of the energy as it flows through the physical vehicle.
Well, suppose the physical vehicle placed her hands on, say, somebody else's injured limb. Would you kind of amplify the energy that's flowing from her hands to help in the healing?
So the energy is already amplified, and there would be a visceral impact. The
Mhm.
person receiving it would be able to recognize the additional energy immediately in terms of its intensity.
Okay. Is any human pretty well equipped to do a little healing with their hands?
there are many humans that are currently engaging in such activities. The human vehicle has a very wide range of frequencies it can operate in. And of course, different individuals have a wider range, just like you would say that about the voice and about any other individual abilities. It often operates on the spectrum, and certain people are more gifted and more able. It is also true about the topic we're talking about, of people able to channel energies through their hands. And we will say that here it is not the hands who are the healing instruments. The hand is just a part of the package. It
Mhm.
is the frequencies of the individuals as they're able to utilize um, the movement of energy with their intention, with their focus, and yes, with their physical body, also with their hands.
I've come to the suspicion, you might say, that some of the formal courses in things like Reiki, reconnective healing, probably go beyond what is necessary, and that humans can probably pick up that same ability with a little less training and ritual. Would you concur?
Once again, it depends on the person.
Okay.
So, healing modalities such as Reiki and many others that require training and certification are attempting to be gatekeepers of the craft,
Mhm.
because there are many individuals that would approach the desire to learn those skills and improve in that way for reasons other than their pure mission. There could be a lot of ego involved, and there are other elements that could come into the picture. As a result, teachers over the years, and this is not new to today, this has always been the case with humanity, and always we're talking about your current era that you are familiar with,
Mhm.
have set a lot of tests or requirements or certifications to in hope to weed out those who are not adapt
Mhm.
to practicing in such modalities. However, as you mentioned, other people that it is a part of their mission, it is a part of their calling, may need very little guidance in order to tap into their natural abilities. And from there on, their personal experience, including with their inner intuition, may serve as the teachers to further enhance their healing abilities.
I've heard it said that if a person who is not trained in any of this, but has the right motivation, if they experience, say, Reiki energy, they will then be probably capable of transmitting it and using it themselves. Is that an accurate statement?
It definitely can be.
Hmm.
Yes, as anything you experience for yourself becomes available for you to revisit and to share with others, whether it's a book that you read, a movie that you've seen, or an energy that you've experienced.
Mm. Stepping back from healing a little, you're observing humanity at this time. From your perspective, what would you say humanity needs most to do to, I guess, go through the ascension process?
Yes. Humanity, as you know, is comprised of individuals. And we would bring here the focus on each individual. Each individual that has the desire to evolve, that has the awareness of these times that are um, on your planet and within humanity, would focus on themselves in terms of learning to find a balance between the mind and the heart, learning to find balance between the inner world and their outer world. And of course, the realization that the outer world is a continuation of the inner world. So all you must do is take care of your own inner world, in search for harmony, in search for balance, in search for heart openness and connection. And that alone, as simple as it sounds, would serve to support humanity as a whole in her beautiful evolution.
Well, that would work for people who are awakened enough to be aware of this. But there's a great chunk of humanity, you might say, that is not aware. Some would say they haven't awakened yet.
More
Is
and
there
more
any?
individuals are awakening in your world. And as the awakening spreads into the mainstream, which it has, even people that are most closed off in their bubble, in their egoic bubble, will have some exposure to those notions and those concepts of awakening. It is, of course, in their spectrum of free will to choose whether they're going to accept the invitation and begin doing the work internally, or whether they're going to close further into their bubble, finding ways to justify their behaviors. This is, of course, up to them. However, the majority of humanity, and eventually the whole of humanity, is moving towards that awakening, that introspection, that connection. It is merely a matter of time, which is only a difficulty or an issue when you consider your current perspective, your current human perspective of linear time. When you take that out of the picture, you can see the movement, the direction of the movement humanity is experiencing, which is towards what you term the ascension.
How would you advise those who are awakened? Should they be helping others to awaken, or should they stand by with the idea or attitude that no, they're on their path, they have to find their own way, I shouldn't be intervening? Um, I guess my question is maybe twofold. Should those awakening intervene? And if so, how can they best do it?
Yes, out of the only two options that you gave, we would say the less intervention, the better. However, we will also mention that holding the space of openness, holding the frequency of love, is in essence helping and intervening. Even though on the physical surface, it may mean like not much is being done.
Okay.
When you look at the energy of the situation, truly holding yourself in the frequency of love and not fear, discernment and not judgment, carves the path to even the most closed-minded one to eventually follow.
So if I understand you correctly, one of the best things we can do to help others is really take care of ourselves first. Self-love,
Absolutely.
self-compassion, that sort of thing. And then our light will
Absolutely.
shine outwardly and influence others. Is that about right?
Outwardly, inwardly, and all around.
Okay. It's really pretty simple, isn't it? In one sense.
It is simpler described than acted on,
Yeah.
as the human tendency is to project any discord and unpleasantness that comes from within into the environment.
Mm.
So a lot of the work is a type of accountability for all that arises within you, even when it seems it is inflicted by others. So there is a mechanism that is pushing against you as you attempt to grow and evolve. It is not a linear ascension, but a cycle that takes effort and takes commitment and takes many, many reminders and adaptations as you go on your journey.
Okay, to go on that journey, minimizing the difficulty and everything, do you have any tips or advice for how people can do it with ease?
Yes, ease is relative and at times is accessible and other times it is not. So
Okay.
ease should not be the main goal. However, we will say that the more people are able to trust in the bigger picture,
Mhm.
the more people are able to choose the path of least resistance, the more fluid and smooth their journey will be. With that, we would like to go back to our initial point here that it is not always going to be smooth and it's not always going to be easy, even if you are doing everything right. Because the nature of the journey is periods of resistance
Mhm.
within the cycle and periods of flow within the cycle. So even a person that is doing everything right, that is working oh so hard to keep the frequency of love and openness, will encounter some resistance, will encounter awakening of their own wounds, as this is what you are all here to do.
Mhm. Yes, I guess one of the revelations that seems to occur to most of us is that we are carrying a lot from previous lifetimes that we're unaware of.
Yes.
And but what do you suggest humans do if we say acknowledge, yeah, we got this stuff, but how do we identify it? How do we transmute it, get rid of it, whatever?
Yes, it is easy to identify as it comes up within your personhood, within your life, within your environment. So you don't need to look too far to identify what requires attention. It will show itself to you, especially if you learn to listen, again, rather than project it. As soon
Mhm.
as you start coming up with stories about it, you are using your human filter to prevent clarity. However, if you're able to hold the space of clarity and to allow things as they come up, both internally and in your environment, which is a reflection of the internal world, it will be very easy to identify what requires your attention. Now, the next question is, what kind of attention are you giving those parts of yourself that are hurting, that
Yes.
are crying out in pain, or that requires attention in some way? The more you are able once again to hold those parts of yourself with clarity and with openness, the solution or resolution will also unfold naturally.
Would it also be fair to say that as we clear more of this, we do raise our vibration, and in so doing, life gets a little easier?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Life gets a little easier because you're able to hold the perspective of your divine nature and your mission here. However, some obstacles will still be difficult because master teachers take on larger tasks. It is
Okay.
also true for humans. As you continue evolving, as you continue expanding, you voluntarily call on more wounds from your ancestry line and more wounds from your race and other elements to allow them to come up to the surface for air and be shed light on.
Sometimes when I'm speaking with a channeled being, I would ask, how are you doing? And usually the answer comes back, wonderful, everything's peaceful here. So is there a point at which humans can evolve, life gets easier, and then we get to this blissful state that some of the channel beings are talking about?
Yes, absolutely. So we're talking long term down the line as humanity as a whole ascends into the next dimensions. Indeed, you may say life get easier. And again, we take on some difficult tasks. You may say working with humanity right now can be quite a difficult task. However, we do so with full awareness of our free will and that this is our choice. That alone changes the dynamic of how we experience those challenges. If
Mhm.
a human is encountering a difficult situation, and if a part of them can be totally aware that this is their choice to take this on, to experience it, to transmute it, to learn what to do with it, and then share the knowledge, which can be cognitive knowledge or it can be energetic, but share this with others, the experience of the difficulty will not include as much suffering, although the situation may be challenging.
Mhm. Thank you. That clarifies a lot. Thank you very much. We do have to wrap up here soon, and I'm wondering if this video ever got on the world stage and you were able to address all of humanity. What message would you have for us?
Yes, you are precious children learning to walk, and we may add fly.
Mhm.
Some of you for the first time, some of you have done it many times before, and your muscle memories are awakening. Learn to trust in yourself that you are here on your beautiful planet for a good reason, that you have chosen to come here, and that much, much goodness awaits ahead. Trust in yourself, trust in your creation, and always feel free to call on any of the guides, any of the loving beings. And there are so many of them that are here looking forward to assisting, looking forward to uplifting, as long as you are an active participant. So open your heart, open your mind to this magical world you are a part of. And remember that the journey is beautiful in all its parts.
Well, thank you. That is very inspiring and very uplifting. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for participating in this video and many blessings to you.
It is our pleasure, and the blessings are returned tenfold.
Thank you. Well, now, after you just come on back when you're ready, take your time. Boy, they are an energetic, aren't they? How do you feel after that?
I'm grounded,
Hmm.
but good. So
Right.
usually when I open my eyes right away, my eyes are teary, which I'm often even aware of during that the tears are accumulating around my eyes. When I first open my eyes, I feel like everything is a little hazy, as if I'm a little bit in a white fog.
Mhm.
But the more I talk and the more I ground, the more that fades away. Um, I'm usually warm either before or during the channeling, but I'm not as aware of it during. So I'm aware of it before and after, and
Mhm.
generally energized. I've heard some people say that it's exhausting and taxing. It does take a lot of focus, but I do find it generally energizing.
Yes, and I think some of that is either expectation or intention. If some people believe it's going to be draining, it'll be draining. And yeah, well, this was fascinating. These guys are very well. The energy was quite obvious. I think blending with yours, they were quick, they were clear, they were really good. Um, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so my website is yafichanneling.com. My first name, Yafi, Yafi, then
Hmm.
channeling.com. I'm also on YouTube where I have many, many videos. I'm on Spotify with their light language and field tuning and beautiful temple chants that they do. And that's probably the best. And my books are on Amazon,
Yeah, tell us about
also on my website. So, yes, I have two books out currently, more in the making. The
it.
first one came out last year, Conversations with the Earth,
Gaia.
and that has many, many, many different sources channeled through me with messages focusing on humanity and the shift we're going through. Anything from elements like fire consciousness, wind, water, to more galactic stuff, the Zetas, Arcturians, different councils, the P's I've channeled for a while. And
Good.
then my newest book, Conversations with Hathor, Channeling the Divine Feminine, is mainly only messages from Hathor. Isis is a little bit in there too, but I think she is involved with the Hathors. So messages from Hathor, the Divine Feminine, with a lot of both galactic and out there stuff, but also really practical. I
Mhm.
think it's not a coincidence that I have a doctorate in clinical psychology. I think it was intentional on their end, and they're taking a lot of that to make things very practical, very specific. It is not about living out there, it's really about living our life here and
Mhm.
learning to integrate spirit into our physical everyday world.
Yeah. And that certainly helps your credibility, having that doctorate. Very attractive covers.
Oh, thank you.
Author looks stunning.
Yeah, this I designed this one, the Earth, which you can tell it's more simple. And this one is my publisher selected a painting from a UK artist that does a lot of these esoteric images, beautiful, beautiful. And you can see that there's more to the painting. You can see it in the back, the full painting.
Yes.
So yes, it's an original painting, and I agree, it's beautiful.
Well, hey, we're going to have to wrap up, but I will put a screen at the back of this that has your contact information. So thank you very much for doing this. Many thanks to the authors, and
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did. And to the audience, thanks very much for tuning in. Lots more coming. Bye for now.